Genetics. Some basic fundamentals. Mention if the following statements are true or false. Genetics and heredity are the same thing. False. Like begets like. This applies only to animals. False. The entire human population shows variations. True. Next question. Which of the following in humans are established genetic traits? Capacity to be a good cricketer. False. Curly hair. True. Left-handedness. True. Quality of voice. True. Red green color blindness. True. Next question. Total number of pairs of chromosomes in each body cell in humans 23. Number of pairs of autosomes in humans 22. A certain couple got only four daughters in a row and no son. Does it mean that the husband does not produce Y-bearing sperms? Explain. No, it does not mean that the husband does not produce Y-bearing sperms. Sex of the child depends upon the kind of sperm that fertilizes the egg. The egg contains only one X chromosome, but half of the sperms released into the female are X bearing and the remaining half are Y bearing. It is simply a matter of chance as to which category of sperms fuses with the ovum. If the egg is if egg X is fused by X bearing sperm, the resulting combination is XX, that is female type, and the child produced is female daughter. If the egg X is fused with Y bearing sperm, the resulting combination is XY, that is male constitution, and the child produced will be a son. Approximately how many genes have been discovered in humans? 30,000 genes. Define the following terms. Alleles. These are the alternative forms of a gene occupying the same place on a chromosome and affecting the same characteristic but in a different way. For example, in the character of tongue rolling, projecting the tongue out of the mouth in the form of a tube, there are two possibilities. Either one may roll the tongue or one may not be able to do so. Thus, there are two alleles, one for rolling and the other for non-rolling. Dominant gene. A dominant gene is one which is able to express itself in a heterozygote. Genotype. It is the genetic constitution or gene complement of an individual or an organism. Phenotype. It is the external manifestation of our genotype. In other words, it is the observable characteristic which is genetically controlled. Next, heterozygous dominant is a pair of genes in which one gene is dominant and the other is recessive. So the effect of recessive one is marked by the dominant gene. Example RR. Can there be a heterozygous recessive? Explain. There cannot be a heterozygous recessive because recessive is the factor in an allelic pair which is unable to express itself in a heterozygote. Next question. List any four traits in humans which you can easily study just by observing and making family charts. Ability to roll the tongue into U shape when extended out from the mouth or incapability of doing so. Next question. Shape of the earlobes. Free or attached. Color of the eyes. Brown or blue. Lips thick or thin. Who discovered for the first time the basic principles of genetics? Gregor Johann Mendel. Next question. Give the common and scientific names of the organism on which Gregor Mendel has worked. Common name garden pea. Scientific name Pipum sativum. Pisum sativum. Pisum sativum. Next question. Define the following terms. Monohybrid. An organism obtained by a cross between two parents taking the alternative traits of one single character is called monohybrid. Dihybrid, an organism obtained by a cross between two parents taking the alternative traits of two different characters. Filial generation, the offspring of the parents is called filial generation. Next, list any four traits in humans which you can easily study just by observing and making family charts. Ability to roll the tongue into U shape when extended out from the mouth or incapability of doing so. Shape of the earlobes ki free or attached. Color of the eyes brown or blue. Lips ki habe thick or thin. Next question, review questions. Which one of the following phenotypic monohybrid ratio in F2 generation? Eta hobe number 1 will be 3:1. If a pure tall plant is crossed with a pure dwarf plant with the offspring will be 3 tall 1 dwarf. Next, the 9:1, 9:3:3:1 dihybrid ratio is due to independent assortment. Next question. Very short answer type questions. Genetics এর সাথে match the following কি হবে? Study of inheritance of characters. Autosomes এর সাথে কি হবে? Chromosomes other than the pair of sex chromosomes. Recessive gene, a gene that can express only when in a similar pair. Allele, the alternative form of a gene. Homologous chromosome, chromosome similar in size and shape. Next question, name two genetic diseases in humans. Hemophilia or sickle cell anemia. Which one of the following genotypes is homozygous dominant and which one homozygous recessive in regard to tongue rolling? Capitellar smaller, duto capitellar, capitellar smaller, heterozygous dominant, duto smaller, homozygous recessive, duto capitellar, homozygous dominant. Next question, differentiate between genotype and phenotype. Genotype হচ্ছে the genetic constitution of an organism is referred to as its genotype. For example, an organism may have the genetic composition capital R, capital R or capital R small r or দুটোই small r. Phenotype. Phenotype refers to the observable characteristic of an organism which is genetically controlled. For example, capital R একটা, capital R small r দুটোই হচ্ছে both are red. That is, externally they look the same. This means that they are phenotypically the same, but they carry different genes and are therefore said to differ in genotype. Thus, for one phenotype, say red color, there can be two gene combinations or genotypes. মানে দুটো capital R homozygous and capital R small r heterozygous. এবার character, any heritable feature is a character. Trait, the alternative form of a character is trait. Next, the phenotypic ratio of monohybrid cross is 3:1 and dihybrid cross is 9:3:3:1. Among lion, tiger, and domestic cat, all the three have the same number of 38 chromosomes, yet they have different appearances. Now, how do you account for such differences? Lion, tiger, domestic cat have the same number of 38 chromosomes, yet they have different appearances due to different genes located on the chromosome. List any three features of garden pea with their dominant and recessive traits. Seed shape কি হবে round, এটা dominant trait. Recessive trait এ কি হবে wrinkled. এরপরে seed color dominant trait ki yellow, recessive trait ki green. সিড কালার ফ্লাওয়ার না সরি, এবার প্রথমটা সিডের শেপ ডমিনেন্ট হচ্ছে রাউন্ড, রিসেসিভ, রিঙ্কলড। সিড কালার প্রথমটা শেপ হয়ে গেল, এবার সিডের কালার কি হবে? ডমিনেন্ট ট্রেট ইয়েলো, রিসেসিভ ট্রেট হবে গ্রিন। গার্ডেন পি এর ফিচার্স ডমিনেন্ট রিসেসিভ ট্রেট গুলো। এবার ফ্লাওয়ারের কালার ডমিনেন্ট ট্রেটে কি হবে? পার্পল, রিসেসিভ ট্রেটে হবে হোয়াইট। তাহলে সিড শেপ ডমিনেন্ট ট্রেট হবে রাউন্ড, রিসেসিভ ট্রেট রিঙ্কলড। সিড কালার ডমিনেন্ট ট্রেট হবে ইয়েলো, রিসেসিভ ট্রেট গ্রিন। ফ্লাওয়ার কালার ডমিনেন্ট ট্রেট হবে পার্পল, রিসেসিভ ট্রেট হবে হোয়াইট। Explain why generally only male child suffers from color blindness, not the female. In females, this disorder occurs when gene responsible for it is present in homozygous recessive form on both the X chromosomes. But in males, this disease appears even when recessive gene responsible for it is present on the single X chromosome, as no corresponding gene for it is present on Y chromosome. Next, in a certain species of animals, black fur mane B is dominant over brown fur small b. Black fur capital B, the brown fur small b. Show the possible ratio of genotypes and phenotypes of the offspring of pure breeding different colored parents. When both parents are heterozygous, তখন genotypic ratio কি হবে? 1:2:1. When both parents are heterozygous, তখন phenotypic ratio কি হবে? 3:1. Explain the following terms. Heterozygous. It is an organism which has two contrasting factors or genes of a character. Heterozygous dominant with similar pair, capital R, small r. The genotype of non-ruler is just one single homozygous recessive pair, duto small r. Homozygous dominant is a type of phenotype character for tongue rolling. This is one type of genotype and has similar pair, duto capital R. Pedigree chart. It is a family chart which helps in understanding the nature of traits and their inheritance. State 3 Mendel's law of inheritance. Based on the conclusions of the experiment, Mendel in 1865 proposed the following laws of inheritance, which are popularly known as Mendel's law of inheritance. Law of dominance. Out of a pair of contrasting characters brought together in a cross, only one of them expresses itself in the resulting hybrids. The character expressed is said to be dominant over the other, which remains suppressed and is called recessive. এবার law of segregation কি? When the factors that determine a pair of contrasting factors are brought together in a hybrid, they do not intermix but maintain their individualities. When the hybrid forms gametes, the factors of the pair become separated from each other and enter separate gametes. Next, law of independent assortment. In the inheritance of more than one pair of characters considered together in a cross, the factors responsible for each pair of characters are distributed independently to the gametes, that is, assorted independent of those of the other pair. Does the sex of the child depend on the father, or it is just a matter of chance? Discuss. Yes, it depends upon the father. All the eggs are alike, each with X chromosome, but the sperms have either X or Y chromosome. Which sperm fertilizes the egg determines the sex of the child. Next, in a certain species of animals, black fur capital B is dominant over brown fur small b. Predict the genotype and phenotype of the offspring when both parents are capital B small b or have heterozygous black fur. Phenotype এবার answer. Phenotype, it is the external manifestation of genotype. It is the observable characteristic which is genetically controlled. ফেনোটাইপিক রেশিও ব্ল্যাক ইজ টু ব্রাউন কি হবে 3:1। ফেনোটাইপিক রেশিও কি হয়ে গেল ব্ল্যাক ইজ টু ব্রাউন মানে 3:1। আর জেনোটাইপিক রেশিও ক্যাপিটাল বি দুটো is to capital B small b is to দুটো small b equals to 1:2:1। Next, two pairs A and B of rabbits were crossed as given below। এসব ক্রস করেছে, একটা সাদা র্যাবিট কালো র্যাবিট, কালো র্যাবিট সাদা র্যাবিট দিয়ে সাদা কালো র্যাবিটটার অফস্প্রিং হলো পেয়ার এ, প্রথমটা হোয়াইট দ্বিতীয়টা ব্ল্যাক পেয়ার এ তে, তাতে অফস্প্রিং হলো আচ্ছা হোয়াইট মেল ব্ল্যাক ফিমেল, এটার ক্রস করে অফস্প্রিং হলো মেল ব্ল্যাক মেল, মানে ফিমেলটার কালার নিল আর জেন্ডারটা মানে জেন্ডারটা নিল সাদাটার। হোয়াইট র্যাবিট, হোয়াইট মেল র্যাবিট, ব্ল্যাক মেল র্যাবিট, দুটোর হলো অফস্প্রিং হলো ব্ল্যাক মেল। এবার পেয়ার বিতে আছে ব্ল্যাক মেল র্যাবিট, হোয়াইট ফিমেল র্যাবিট, সেটার অফস্প্রিং হলো ব্ল্যাক ফিমেল। এবার ক্যান ইউ টেল হুইচ কোট কালার ইজ ডমিনেন্ট ব্ল্যাক আর হোয়াইট? ব্ল্যাক সব সময় ডমিনেন্ট, সেই জন্য ব্ল্যাক আর হোয়াইটে ক্রস হলে বেশিরভাগ সময়ই দ্য চাইল্ড ইজ ব্ল্যাক। ইজ দ্য কোট কালার সেক্স লিঙ্কড? নো। Make a Punnett square for finding out the proportion of different genotypes in progeny of a genetic cross between pure tall TT pea plant with pure dwarf TT pea plant। দুটো পিওর টল দুটো ক্যাপিটাল টি পি প্লান্ট আর পিওর ডোয়ার্ফ দুটো স্মল টি পি প্লান্ট। রেড ফ্লাওয়ার ভ্যারাইটি অফ পি দুটো ক্যাপিটাল আর উইথ হোয়াইট ফ্লাওয়ার ভ্যারাইটি অফ পি দুটো স্মল আর, এটাকে পানির স্কোয়ার বানিয়েছে। Next question. A family consists of two parents and their 5 children, and the pedigree chart below shows the inheritance of the trait color blindness in them. Which is color blind in the parents, father or mother? Father color blind. How many daughters and how many sons have been born in the family? 3 daughters, 2 sons. Which does the child one indicate about this trait? Child one indicates the color blind daughter. On which chromosome is the gene of this trait located? X chromosome. Name one other trait in humans which follows the similar pattern of inheritance, hemophilia. Next question. Give the extended form of DNA deoxyribonucleic acid, RNA ribonucleic acid. Which one of the following depict monohybrid ratio 1:2:1? এর সাথে এটা মনোহাইব্রিড, এর সাথে which of the following depict monohybrid ratio? এটা করেছে 1:2:1, হচ্ছে এর আনসার 3 মানে 3:1 হবে। which of the following depict monohybrid ratio? এবার কোয়েশ্চেন নাম্বার বি, সরি এটা ভুল বললাম। which one of the following depict monohybrid ratio? এটার আনসার হবে 3:1 depict করছে monohybrid ratio। আর which one of the following depict monohybrid ratio? এটাই হবে none of these, মানে 9:5:1 ও নয়, 9:3:3:1 ও নয়, 9:7 ও নয়, 9:4:3 ও নয়, none of these. State the Mendel's law of inheritance. According to Mendel's law of dominance, According to Mendel's law of dominance, out of a pair of contrasting characters brought together in an offspring, one always dominates over the other. The one that is expressed is dominant and the one that remains masked is recessive. What is dihybrid ratio? The ratio obtained by crossing two traits is called dihybrid ratio. Define phenotype. Phenotype refers to the observable characteristic of an organism which is genetically controlled. What are autosomes? Autosomes, the chromosomes that are connected with characters other than the sex, are called autosomes. For example, there are 22 pairs of autosomes in human beings. Distinguish between monohybrid cross and trihybrid cross. Monohybrid cross, Mendelian crosses in which one pair of contrasting characters is taken into consideration at a time, are called monohybrid crosses. Dihybrid cross, Mendelian crosses in which two pairs of contrasting characters are taken into consideration at a time, are called dihybrid crosses. What is genome? It is the full complement of DNA, including all genes and intergenic regions. Full complement of DNA, including all genes and intergenic regions. What is the name of the disorder caused in humans due to chromosome mutation? Down syndrome. Gave reasons why gametes have a haploid number of chromosomes. During meiosis 1, there occurs a reductional division followed by meiosis 2, in which equational division occurs, resulting in the reduction of chromosome number to half. During fertilization, when they fuse with the gamete of opposite sex, is called diploid zygote. Opposite sex or diploid zygote is formed. Define mutation. Mutation is a sudden drastic change in one or more genes. New traits are introduced in a population by mutation. Define variations. The change in genotype and phenotype is closely related organism. In closely related organism is called variation. The change in genotype and phenotype in closely related organisms is called variation. Next question. If a colorblind man marries a woman with normal vision, what will be the nature of their children? The daughter will be a carrier of color blindness, but their son will have normal vision. মানে ওম্যানটা যদি কালার ব্লাইন্ড ম্যান যদি নর্মাল ভিশনের ওম্যানকে বিয়ে করে, তাহলে তার ডটার কিন্তু বাবার ট্রেটটা নিয়ে কালার ব্লাইন্ডই হবে, আর সানরা কিন্তু মায়ের ট্রেট নেবে, কারণ মায়ের ভিশন নর্মাল। Fill in the blanks with a suitable word. A character that is masked is considered recessive, while that which is expressed is known as dominant. Dash male and female sexes. Gametes are male and female sexes. Mendel's second law of inheritance is called law of segregation. A woman receives her X chromosome from her father, Y chromosome from a woman receives her X chromosome from her father and mother. A gene that exists in more than two forms is called multiple. এটা কেন father and mother হলো বুঝলাম না. Woman receives her X chromosome from her father and mother. যাই হোক, name the following. The father of genetics K. Mendel. An individual with morphologically similar sex chromosomes. Female. The plant on which Mendel conducted his experiments. Pea plant, মানে Pisum sativum. The fundamental unit of heredity কি? Genes. The chemical substance which constitutes genes, DNA. Tick the appropriate option. Cross between hybrid and recessive parent. এটা কি হবে? Test cross. The body features are phenotype. The branch of biology dealing with hereditary and variations is ecology. Ultimate source of variation is mutation. Number of genotype found in F2 progeny of a dihybrid is 9. Next question. Explain why it is possible for brown-eyed parents to have brown-eyed blue-eyed child. Which law does it illustrate? Brown eye color is dominant over blue eye color. Therefore, for the brown-eyed parents having blue-eyed child, the possibilities both have heterozygous genotype, that is capital B small b. Therefore, from the square below, it is clear that there is 25% possibility of blue-eyed small bb child. It illustrates the law of dominance, which states that out of a pair of contrasting characters brought together in an offspring, one always dominates over the other. The one that is expressed is dominant, and the one that remains masked is recessive. Explain the following terms. Alleles. An allele represents at least two alternative forms of a gene or unit factor. Each gene consists of an allelomorphic pair. হাইব্রিড মানে এক্সাম্পল ক্যাপিটাল আর দুটো আর ক্যাপিটাল আর স্মল আর একটা আর দুটোই স্মল আর এবার হাইব্রিড কি আ প্লান্ট অর অ্যানিমাল প্রডিউসড বাই পেরেন্টস দ্যাট হ্যাভ ডিফারেন্ট হেরিডিটারি ক্যারেক্টার্স linkage key the tendency of genes to stay together in hereditary transmission is called linkage, that is many groups of two or more genes tend to be inherited together. Such genes are said to be linked or constitute a linkage group. The occurrence of linkage groups is because there are far more hereditary characters in an individual than there are chromosomes in it. Next question. Name the Austrian monk who formulated the basic law of inheritance. Gregor Johann Mendel. Johann Mendel. Gregor Johann Mendel. Name and state the two laws formulated by botanists named in law of dominance out of a law of dominance কি হবে two laws formulated by botanists. Law of dominance key out of a pair of contrasting characters brought together in an offspring, one always dominates over the other. The one that is expressed is dominant and the one that remains masked is recessive. এবার law of segregation কি the two members of a pair of factors separate during the formation of gametes. They do not blend but segregate or separate into different gametes. The gametes combine together by random fusion at the time of zygote formation. This law is also called law of purity of genes. Next question. What is gene? How is it related to heredity? Genes are units of heredity that determine particular traits such as color of hair, blood group, color of eye, etc. Each gene is a segment of DNA that carries instructions for making all or part of a specific protein. Heredity. Heredity is the transmission of like qualities or characters from one generation to the next generation. This transmission of characters take place through genes. Explain why hemophilia, which is transmitted to the through the mother, may show itself in 50% of her sons, but in none of her daughters. Hemophilia. Blood lacks clotting factor. Hemophilia is far more common in males than in females. This is the defect due to recessive genes is and both genes occur on the X chromosome. The female with two X chromosomes is unlikely to suffer from hemophilia because it is highly improbable that both the X chromosomes can carry the abnormal gene. One gene may be abnormal, but since it is recessive, its influence will be hidden by the gene on the other X chromosome. The male with only one X chromosome has only one gene for clotting factor. If that is the normal gene, then there is nothing on the Y chromosome to mask it and hemophilia results. Half the sons will have the possibility of being hemophilic through though all the daughters will be normal. In insects such as grasshopper and cockroach, the sex of offspring is decided by the presence or absence of an X chromosome in sperm cell. Absence of chromosome is indicated by the letter O. Complete the square alongside and state whether the following statements are true or false. The female is homogametic, true. The male has two chromosomes, X and O, false. এটা একটা ফিমেল মেলের বানিয়েছে, ওপরে ফিমেলের হচ্ছে এক্স এক্স আর মেলের এক্স আর জিরো দিয়ে ওটা বানিয়ে বানিয়ে এগুলো বলেছে। The male has two chromosomes, X and O, এটাও false. Zygote with XX chromosomes develop into male, false. Zygote with XO chromosomes develop into female, false. Next question. In certain birds, fishes, and reptiles, there are two types of eggs with Z and Y chromosomes and only one type of sperms, each with Z chromosome. Complete the square given alongside and state whether the following statements are true or false. Female is heterogamatic. এটাই আবার ওই এক্স মেল ফিমেল করেছে ওইসব বানাতে হবে, এটাই বানানো নেই। ফিমেল মেল করে জেড আর ডাব্লিউ দিয়ে জেড এ হয়েছে জেড জেড আর জেড ডাব্লিউ, আরেকটা জেড এ হয়েছে জেড 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 ডাব্লিউ, সেম। এবার হোয়াট ইজ দ্য ফিমেল ইজ হেটেরোগ্যামেটিক, সেই জন্য ওটার হবে পুরোটাই ছবিটা এঁকেছে, মেল ইজ heterogametic, ওটাও ছবি এঁকেছে। What is the composition of zygote which develops into female? XW. What is the ratio of male to female offspring? 1:1. Study the following problems based on crosses. এখানে পুরো এগুলো হচ্ছে অঙ্কের কোয়েশ্চেন, এগুলো বলার কিছু নেই। নেক্সট কোয়েশ্চেন পিওর, এটাও পুরো অঙ্ক টাইপের কোয়েশ্চেন। The pedigree shows the inheritance of color blindness or sex-linked trait. In this trait, is this trait dominant or recessive? Is the mother of the colorblind girl in the F3 generation colorblind, a career or a person with normal color vision? Explain. The trait is recessive. The mother of the colorblind girl in the F3 generation is a career because the girl in F3 generation can be colorblind only if her father is colorblind and her mother has at least one abnormal gene মানে career বাবা হচ্ছে colorblind and মা career is also colorblind কি বলছে the mother of the colorblind girl in F3 generation is a career because the girl is in F3 generation can be colorblind only if her father is colorblind and her mother has at least one abnormal gene or is colorblind, but she is a carrier because 25% of her sons and daughters have normal color vision as shown in the pedigree. Next question. Write a brief note on the chemistry of chromosomes. A chromosome is a giant molecule made up of DNA. On the chromosome, genes are present which control characters. The number of chromosomes is fixed on a species. For example, in man, there are 23 pairs. In fruit fly Drosophila, their mother is 8. While in a fungus of Penicillium species, it is only 4. Next question. How can you prove that chromosomes carry genes? The functional units of chromosomes are the genes. These genes are present on chromosome and control heritable traits. Each chromosome is a vast depository of several genes. The fact that corresponding genes are passed on to chromosomes proves that the chromosomes carry genes. Next question. Write briefly on chromosomal role in inheritance. Sutton and Boveri gave the chromosomal theory of inheritance in 1902. According to this theory, the Mendelian factors of the genes occur on the chromosomes in a linear fusion. Each characteristic or trait seems to be controlled by one gene. During mitotic cell division, the chromosome split lengthwise, thus bringing about a similar distribution of genes to the two daughter chromosomes, which then moves to the opposite poles. This process maintains the constancy in the number of chromosomes in the daughter cells from generation to generation. Thus, chromosomes play an important role in inheritance. Why did Mendel choose garden pea for his experiments? How did he make sure that the plants were true to breeding? Mendel selected garden pea for his experiments due to the following reasons. The plant is neither too big nor too small. It can be easily handled. It has many contrasting characters. Pea flowers are Cleistogammas মানে remain enclosed. Cleistogamous. In pea flowers, self and cross pollination both may be affected. Large number of progeny is produced after single cross. Cycle is short. Flowers are bisexual and homogamous. It has less number of chromosomes. Garden pea plant does not show incomplete dominance. Experiments may be conducted in simple laboratory conditions. How is the number of chromosomes maintained constant in the sexually reproducing organisms? In sexually reproducing organisms, the germ cells in the gonads undergo meiosis to form gametes. Such gametes naturally have reduced number of chromosomes, that is half the number of chromosomes than that in parent cell. The genes present in the parent cell duplicate only once during meiosis and are later on distributed in equal number to the gametes. Male and female gametes fuse to form zygote after fertilization. Thus, the diploid number typically of parent cell is restored or maintained. The new organism formed from such a zygote will have double the number of genes than that present in a gamete. When a characteristic is known to be inherited, does it mean that environment has no role to play in its expression? Explain giving suitable examples. No, it is not true. The characters are affected by environment only during gameogenesis. The reflected or modified characters which are present in the germ cells or in organism are inherited. For example, the skin color in man is inherited from one generation to the other as it is gene control, but at the same time it also influenced by prevailing environment. So if a man with wheatish complexion goes to South India, stays there for some true and work in short strong light constantly, he'll develop dark complexion, which is an environmental effect. But since the gene is also affected, hence, this dark complexion is inherited. Next question. What is gene? How does it replicate? The factors which are responsible for the expression of characters have been identified as genes. Genes are present along the length of chromosome and are responsible for the inheritance of characters during reproduction. About replication of gene key. When a cell is ready to divide by mitosis, the gene present on the chromosome duplicate true to parent. A gene produces a carbon copy of its own type. Hence, each chromosome bearing duplicated genes split into two chromides. In other words, two sets of genes present in chromosomes are distributed equally to its two chromatids, which are passed on to the nuclei of the two resulting daughter cells. In this way, each cell processes the same number of chromosomes and genes as were present in a parent cell. During sexual reproduction, the germ cell divide by mitosis to form gametes. The number of chromosomes in each gamete is reduced to half than the parent cell. The genes present in the parent cell duplicate only once during meiosis but are later on equally distributed in the gametes. এবার নোটসে একটা সাইন্টিফিক নেমের লিস্ট আছে আর ফুল ফর্মসের লিস্ট আছে। পি Pisum sativum, oat plant, Avena sativum, man, Homo sapiens, peppered moth, Beeston betularia, dark colored moth, Beeston, Beeston betularia carbonaria. Next, scientific names. Hofmeister discovered Hofmeister. Hofmeister discovered chromosomes for the first time. Frederick Meister was first discovered the two nucleic acids DNA and RNA. FRA, Frey, DERICK, Frederick Miescher were first discovered the two nucleic acids DNA and RNA. Chromosomes in animals were first studied in 1882 by German scientist Walter Fleming, Walther Fleming. The shape of DNA molecule was studied by Rosalind Franklin in 1953. The structure of DNA molecule was studied by shape হচ্ছে Rosalind Franklin 1953. Our structure of shape of DNA molecule Rosalind Franklin 1953. Structure of DNA molecule Watson and Crick, Crick in 1953. Gregor Mendel, father of genetics. The term hormone was given by William Bayliss and Ernest Starling, Starling. The first indication of plant growth regulator was given by Darwin in 1880. Auxin first discovered F.W.W.Went, gone হয় সেই went. Gibberellins were first reported in Japan by Kuros, Kurosawa, Kurosawa, Kurosawa in 1926. Gibberellins were first reported in Japan by Kurosawa in 1926. Carl Landsteiner 1990 discovered the blood groups. RH factor মানে rhesus monkey discovered by Landsteiner and Weiner in 1940. Thomas Edison is called the father of endocrinology. Thomas Edison, Edison, Thomas Edison, father of endocrinology. Secretin was the first hormone, Accretin, first hormone discovered by William M. Bayliss, Bayliss, and Ernest H. Starling. Dryopithecus. Those arms and legs were almost equal in length. It was discovered by Edouard Edouard Lartet in France. Dryopithecus. These arms and legs were almost equal in length. It was discovered by Edouard Lartet in France. Edouard Lartet. Edouard Lartet. Ramapithecus was discovered by Edward Lewis. Australopithecus was discovered by Raymond Dart. Homo habilis, the handyman, was discovered by L. S. B. Leakey. Capital L, capital S, capital B, Leaky, Leakey and his wife, Mary Leakey. Homo erectus, the upright or erect man, was discovered by Mayer. Neanderthal man was discovered by C. Falrot, Fahlrot. Cro-Magnon man, হোমো মানে যেটা ক্রো সিআরও ক্রো MAGNON ম্যাগনান ম্যান এমএন ম্যান এটাকে বলে হোমো সেপিয়েন্স ফসিলিস was discovered by MacGregor. Landmark's theory of inheritance of acquired characters, Lamarckism. Darwin's theory of natural selection, Darwinism. Father of evolution, Darwin. এবার ফুল ফর্মস ডিএনএ ডিঅক্সিরাইবোনিউক্লিক অ্যাসিড, আরএনএ রাইবোনিউক্লিক অ্যাসিড, এটিপি অ্যাডেনোসাইন ট্রিফসফেট, আমি জানতাম অ্যাডেনোসাইন ডাইফসফেট, ও অ্যাডেনোসাইন ট্রাইফসফেট এইভাবেই লিখেছে। আচ্ছা, এনএডিপি নাইকোটায়ানামাইড অ্যাডেনাইন ডাই নিউক্লিওটাইড ফসফেট, IAA indole acetic acid, IBA indole butyric acid, 2,4-D dichlorophenolic acetic acid. N naphthalene acetic acid. ABA abscisic acid. Gibberellic acid. Sinoatrial node. AVN atrioventricular node. HB hemoglobin. ARH rhesus antigen. ECG echocardiogram. CNS central nervous system. ANS autonomic nervous system. PNS peripheral nervous system. FSH follicle stimulating hormone. LH luteinizing hormone. ACTH adrenocorticotropin hormone. T tropin hormone, sorry, হ্যাঁ অ্যাড্রিনোকর্টিকোট্রপিক হওয়া উচিত, এখানে দেখছি ট্রপিন হরমোন লেখা। ট্রপিক হরমোন, হ্যাঁ অ্যাড্রিনোকর্টিকোট্রপিক হরমোন। ATRH থাইরয়েড রিয়েলাইজিং হরমোন, রিলিজিং ও থাইরয়েড রিলিজিং হরমোন। IUDS ইন্ট্রা ইউটেরাইন ডিভাইস। MTP medical termination of pregnancy. Z ZPG zero population growth. AIDS acquired immunodeficiency syndrome. BOD biological oxygen demand. Small d capital B decibels. CNG compressed natural gas. DDT dichloro diphenyl trichloroethane. CFS chlorofluorocarbons. O3 ozone. ODF open defecation free. TSH thyroid stimulating hormone protein ব্র্যাকেটে লেখা। MSH melanocyte stimulating hormone ব্র্যাকেটে peptide। GH growth hormone। EEG echo encephalogram।